So you want real respect without being a jerk. This is the best and fastest way to get people to respect you, even when they're teasing you or pushing you around. This is coming from a guy who actually captured his own friends poking fun at him until I flipped the script and got them back on my side. This will change your social life forever. Hey everyone, if you're new here, my name is Blake and I help real people like you improve their social skills with real life advice. I don't just tell you what to do, I actually go out and do it myself so you know it actually works. We just crossed 2,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for that. And if you want more social tips, be sure to check out my website where I've got a ton of extra resources and digital products for you guys. All right, being disrespected in any friend group kind of sucks, especially when they're the kind of friends who are doing it to intentionally be mean. But I have to preface that if this is the case and you're being disrespected to the point of being bullied, you need to find new friends. Hopefully though, you're hanging out with good people who are just having some lighthearted fun. But in either case, it requires you to respond in a way that shows them that you're not weak and you can handle being teased, and in a way that pulls the conversation back to a more positive tone so it doesn't get awkward. And when you can do that, you'll earn their respect. So let's dive into the example with my own friends who, I gotta say, are phenomenal. I love my friends dearly. They are some of my best friends, truly. And we all poke fun at each other from time to time. I think that's a really normal thing in relationships to do to a degree. However, it was a moment that I knew would make a really good example and help me teach a really good lesson. I recently went out to dinner with them, and halfway through the meal, the waiter comes by and actually gives us extra cookies for free for the entire table out of nowhere. It was awesome. So I said this.
Bro, we just scored, dude.
Totally scored those cookies.
And in that moment, was it really that big of a deal? No, right? They weren't teasing me very much. Like I said, I'm only magnifying this very small moment for the sake of example.
Totally scored those cookies.
And then my other friend said this.
That sounds like some Ashton Kutcher.
Dang, man. But honestly, fair. It does. I was exaggerating probably a little too much. But what do I say next, right? They're poking fun at the way that I said something. I could just stay silent, but that may come across like I was actually offended, and it may seem weak or something if I choose to get offended so easily at something so small. And I think apologizing for speaking that way would come across that way too. I could say, shut up. Right? I could be a jerk about it, or maybe I could try poking fun back at them, right? Like an eye for an eye. Or I could look past my immediate emotions. I could look at the situation from their perspective and embrace my own silliness. So I replied like this.
That sounds like some Ashton Kutcher. You know what Megan
Scored? Totally scored those cookies, man.
I chose to join in on making fun of myself by saying it again and doubling down on the way that I said it in an even more exaggerated tone. This established that I knew how to take it. When you can make fun of yourself in those moments, it completely disarms the disrespect. No one can kick someone when they're already putting themselves down. I could choose to keep re-establishing agreement and make fun of myself even more, but it risks going too far, right? I didn't want to say, yeah, dude, that was a dumb thing for me to say. I'm sorry for being such an idiot. No. Right? We want to stay confident in what we said and why we said it, especially if it wasn't actually offensive and they were just giving us a hard time. When you stand firm behind what you said, even in the face of criticism, that is what gains respect. But now I needed to save the conversation and reestablish a positive tone to prevent it from getting awkward. So in order to bring the conversation back to a positive tone, I had to think about what the topic was that I was being teased about and how I could flip it back positively. The last thing he said was,
That sounds like some Ashton Kutcher. You know what?
let's keep that in mind, because right there, that was the key to making this work. So now all I had to do was lean into making Ashton Kutcher the butt of the joke instead of me. That way, we could all be in agreement that Ashton Kutcher is funny. How could I use Ashton Kutcher to make them laugh? And I realized that if he was able to recognize my tone of voice and think of Ashton Kutcher specifically, he may know other things about Ashton Kutcher. Not just how he talks, but maybe the movies he's been in. In that moment, I thought of a funny, deep-cut quote from an Ashton Kutcher movie. I decided to lean into the Ashton Kutcher voice, which relates directly to the previous subject. But this time, Ashton Kutcher was used to make him laugh instead of me and the way that I was speaking before.
That sounds like some Ashton Kutcher. country. You know what Maggie
Scored. Totally scored those cookies, man. No, and then.
was talking to Maggie today and her exit?
This was a quote from an old movie called Dude, Where's My Car?
And then,
No, and then.
and then,
No, and then.
and then, and then, and then, and then.
No, and then.
After I said this, I looked at him for just a bit to see if he got my reference. And honestly, I guessed, right? I just assumed that he might know where the quote came from. It was a risk, and it could have totally backfired, but it was worth it. And sure enough, judging by his laughs, he understood the reference. So I laugh along with him, a little bit harder than even he's laughing, just to encourage the conversation back to the positive tone. And that's when my other buddy adds to it.
Maggie's exit to a conversation was party on me.
Wow. That is such a cut, dude. Guardian guard.
And my guy on my team is like, why'd you say that?
Yeah, they don't know. They don't probably know what
Said it
that
as a response. You think I would just say that randomly?
is. Yeah. No, it's a thing.
And boom, we are back. My buddy quoted another old movie where the characters talked funny, and now we're all on the same page again, laughing and using old movie references in the conversation. I took a moment where I was being teased and established respect by not backing down from what I said, and I turned it into a bonding moment about how we all love deep cut movie quotes and the way that these characters say things in a funny way. How awesome is that? And obviously every situation is different, so this specific example may not directly apply to your exact situation, but the concepts are the same. And again, if the people you're hanging out with are really your friends, in the end, it shouldn't matter how you reply. You deserve love and respect no matter what. And if you're repeatedly not feeling loved or respected, you deserve better. My full guide for making friends is available on my website if you'd like to take a look at more examples like this one. But until then, thanks for watching.